Why, hello there. You must excuse me for the introductory portion of this video has had the video stripped of it as the video file has been misplaced and is nowhere to be found, meaning I forgot to record it. Anyway, the point is, the first segment of this video will not feature live video of me talking about video games, which I realize is deeply distressing. However, I will be providing an artist rendition of a recreation of me speaking about video games, which I do hope will compensate for the loss of video, which I am simply too lazy to re-record. So that's there. Okay, I will now let my other self talk. What is happening in your life? It's a good question, because if you're watching this video, you're about to be informed about some opinions I have on video games. Specifically, my opinions on what some good sequels for some Nintendo games would be. I'm going to talk about Nintendo games that should get sequels, because there's a lot of Nintendo video games out there in the existence, and a fair number of them are in dire need of a sequel and a continuation on the Nintendo Switch specifically. So I've decided to make this rather redundant little video in order to inform you of my very, very intriguing opinions on this fascinating topic. Do note that this is, of course, not a comprehensive video. I'm basically just talking about whatever I could think of, which is some of which are somewhat unique, some of which are not. But it'll be a wonderful time. I assure you. I know what I'm doing. That's definitely the case. Our first video game of the day is, of course, Kirby Air Ride 2. This one's pretty obvious. Obviously, the original game is really awesome. Even though the main modes are a bit lackluster, City Trial specifically is just masterful. Nintendo and HAL really seem to know it, just given the amount of remixes and references it's had in recent games, such as Kirby Fighters had the crates that are from Air Ride, of course, and then we've had all these remixes in Super Smash Bros. And the King Dedede drum spin-off, and then of course in Sakurai's case, he's made in the Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, both had modes which were fundamentally based on City Trial, in which you go around an area and collect power-ups, and at the end you have a big match to fight. So clearly Nintendo has not forgotten about this game, and its creators haven't either. That being said, I do wonder if HAL Laboratory, the developer, would consider it to be too closely tied to Masahiro Sakurai, as he is, of course, the game director, and that is the last Kirby game he directed. And I'm wondering if perhaps that might be the reason we haven't seen a sequel, is that they feel that it is tied to him as a person. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a person. I don't know these things. So what are some ideas I have? Okay, let me get into that. We'll talk about it. I think that the Kirby Air Ride sequel definitely should have a focus on City Trial mode. Perhaps have an expanded map from the GameCube version, a more expansive area to explore. I'd like, of course, more character and vehicle options, especially characters that you could only play as Kirby in the original City Trial, and of course Kirby Air Ride as a total only had like 3 different playable characters, not counting the different Kirby color varieties. And maybe it could have multiple maps as well. That'd be nice. That'd be special. The main racing mode, of course, could be included as well. I think they should perhaps give it some sort of tweaking. The main mode was definitely not the draw of Air Ride. City Trial was definitely the most fun to be had in that game, even though it was not the main mode. Perhaps recalibrate the racing segments to make them a bit more engaging than they were in the original game. I'd still like to see it there, but of course the main focus should be on the City Trial mode. Also, let's have some online play. Let's do that. I would be willing to pay $20 for that alone, Nintendo. I know you're listening, so online Air Ride. Let's do it. And while I am talking about Forgotten Kirby franchises, I must mention Kirby's Block Ball, and specifically its music, because that game has received like 0 official remixes since its release, which is disturbing and distressing on multiple levels, because the game just has some of the best video game music ever created. It's fantastic, and it has never returned since. As I said, deeply distressing. This should be amended very quickly. Let's get a Smash track. Let's get a track Let's get a remix in Smash. Let's do that. Okay, my next video game that I want to discuss, my next potential sequel. All right, you got this. Steel Diver Sub Wars 2. Okay, this is kind of a random game, but it's really unappreciated. Okay, this game is awesome, it's sick. It was one of Nintendo's first free-to-play games, which was properly free-to-play, and it was a sequel to a slightly inferior 2D version, which you can buy at your local GameStop for approximately 3 cents. That's not much of an exaggeration. It's just a fun, cool game, and it has some pretty wacky stages, and it has the best form of communication in any video game that has ever existed: Morse code. Nintendo has gotten one thing right about online, and it's that we need more Morse code in video games. All right. So that's got to return. For the sequel, I'd say, continue to the free-to-play approach. Obviously, that's been very successful for other online multiplayer shooting games. I wonder which ones those would be. And I'd like them to double down also on the wacky maps, such as the original game had a map which was literally a gigantic swimming pool with like lanes that you just swim around in as a submarine and torpedoed people. It was pretty great. There's a level that's a fish tank. I'd say for a sequel, maybe bring in some fish and maybe have them be like a stage hazard. Like if you hit them, they'll attack you or something. There was also a pond. It was sort of in I don't even know, some sort of Japanese pond thing. That was really cool. Bring back that one. I was kind of trying to think of some other weird stages they could have. Maybe a glass of water would be cool. Have like a lemon in there, and maybe get it's the water level slowly drops as it gets like drinking by someone. I don't know. There's many options. This is one of the most underutilized Nintendo franchises in history, and I have many ideas. It would also give Nintendo an opportunity to perhaps pursue the Battle Royale genre, because I feel that having 100 submarines in some of these more wacky stages would be very entertaining to look at, and could appeal to a wide demographic of individuals, myself included, of course. And that could provide a fun, unique alternative to the somewhat stale Battle Royale genre that we're seeing such a huge popularity spike in recent times. Definitely should have all the features of the 3DS games, including the more premium package for $10, in which you get more items and more submarines and such, and also bring back the Star Fox submarine, perhaps other Nintendo submarines. None are coming to me off the top of my head. Perhaps the Kirby submarine from Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I don't know. That's one I thought of. Definitely bring back the Star Fox submarine, and you also have the single player content, because that was pretty neat. Just have a little training mode. Have that as well. Another big reason I want this game is that the 3DS one is kind of dead. Like I tried to play a match like a year ago, and there were like 0 people, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can't play this anymore. So that would be one reason to have a Switch version. Also look really nice. Got them HD visuals. Water looks nice in high definition, of course, as we all know. And there's also a revival of the series is also not as unlikely as you might think, because of course we've had Steel Diver in Super Smash Brothers. We had Steel Diver in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, of course, as a cart that you could play as. That's really wonderful. And one thing I gotta say is the Steel Diver item has not returned in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And while you might think I'd find this disappointing, I actually find it incredibly exciting, because it opens up more possibilities. Okay, here's what we can do. We can have a Steel Diver stage, all right? Supposedly there's more stages we haven't seen yet. That would be an incredible stage. Okay, we get a Steel Diver stage. It's like a fully underwater stage, the first ever underwater stage. It would be wonderful. Maybe we could have some like slower physics or something, because it's underwater. You can do some really cool stuff. Have submarines sort of go in, shoot each other. It would be really nice. And then of course, that brings us to the obvious point. Steel Diver should be a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I mean, can you not imagine a more absurd character? Can you not? Can you imagine? Could you? I don't think you can. It's literally just a submarine. How would you make that playable? I don't know. I think they could. I think they should, and I think perhaps they will. Okay, our next sequel is another somewhat obvious one. We, of course, have Mario Kart Double Dash 2, okay? Surprisingly enough, we are in the perfect place right now for a Double Dash sequel, because it would be one of the easier ways for Nintendo to differentiate a Mario Kart sequel exclusively on the Switch to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is, of course, the Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch. so they could sort of differentiate itself as being sort of more of a spin-off title to that Mario Kart, to the more standard Mario Kart formula, and be a different take on Mario Kart while still being on the same system. So it doesn't make Mario Kart 8 Deluxe obsolete, but it offers an alternative and something that's new and exciting as well. And also, of course, it's perfectly suited to the co-op features of the Switch, because obviously the Switch comes with 2 controllers. You play Double Dash with 2 people, got 2 people in a cart. It works perfectly. It's perfect. Another possibility, which is, granted, a lesser possibility, one which I would not really like to see, is perhaps they could add DLC to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which adds a Double Dash mode. I don't think this is particularly likely. It is possible, however, and I think that would be unfortunate, but it would still be pretty cool to get that Double Dash style gameplay in a modern Mario Kart. That would be pretty special. Not what I want, however. Okay, here's the big other idea. It's not just a Double Dash sequel, all right? So it has all the mechanics, the 2 characters, switch items, switch things, punch people, etc. It's all fun and good, but big twist. In recent times, Mario Kart has become a sort of platform to have other Nintendo characters on it. We've, of course, seen Link, Isabelle, Villager, Splatoon, etc. Excitebike even, F-Zero, and of course Still Diver. I mean, who could forget Still Diver? I mean, come on. So what I'm thinking is, in the Double Dash sequel, they, so to speak, double down on the Nintendo crossover element of 8 Deluxe and 8. So here's what they do. You have a bunch of Nintendo characters, like a huge roster with Nintendo characters. You got Star Fox, you got Kirby, you got Splatoon, you got Pikmin, you got Metroid, you got F-Zero, you got Zelda, you got all those things. And it still maintains the Double Dash mechanics while having these super exciting new characters. Maybe have Still Diver in there as well. Have the submarine be a cart in a playable character. Okay, let's do that. Let's have that happen. All right. The most exciting element of this discussion is the title. All right. I've come up with a genius little title for this project. Okay, it's called Mario Kart Double Cross. Do you get it? Because, okay, so here it is. Here's the explanation. It's Mario Kart Double Dash, but it's a crossover. So it's Mario Kart Double Cross. And also you could have perhaps you could have a betrayal mechanic. I don't know. It was just a title I came up with. God damn it. You can just go with it, all right? We got it. We got a title. We got a title. Let's make it happen. Our next item of the day. Okay, this is more of a low-key title. Of course, Tomodachi Life 2. Okay, Tomodachi Life is an amazing game. It really is. It's very fun and unique, though unfortunately Nintendo has in recent times sort of tarnished the brand with their less than successful Miitomo game, which did not perform well. Unfortunately, though, I mean, it's not as good as Tomodachi Life. Who are we kidding? It's not the same. It's just not the same, all right? And then MiQuest, I played the demo. It seemed all right, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same depth and just joy that I got out of Tomodachi Life just immediately. So it was definitely a solid effort, but not particularly what I was looking for. So the thing about Tomodachi Life is that the main flaw is that there was somewhat of a lack of things to do. Like, you had a certain set of things you could do, but not much past that. So what they do for a sequel is they add more, okay? They just add more things, more interactions, more possibilities. And, I played like 70 hours of the original Tomodachi Life, so it's not like it was in a drought of content. It's just, if they had more, I would have stuck around even longer than I did. And, it's just a wonderful little weird little thing, and I'd really like to see it. Yeah, and, it's kind of sad because Nintendo seems to be sort of killing off the Miis, and I think that's unfortunate because I think they're wonderful little creatures, and I think they deserve to be preserved in future titles. So, come on, bring them back. Tomodachi Life 2, let's make it happen, all right? Next video game is Luigi's Mansion 3. Oh, wait, they announced that. They did. So actually, while I was in the note-taking process for this video, I wrote down Luigi's Mansion 3, and then they announced it in Nintendo Direct, and it was like, hey, what do you do? That being said, I think I will delve into it a bit, because they don't really know a lot about the game, and I do want to discuss what we have seen. So this is sort of a detour, but, stick with us. One of the primary things is it looks like it's being developed, again, by Next Level Games, which I think is great. I think they have become the Luigi's Mansion developer, sort of how Retro has become the Donkey Kong developer, so I think that works well. One thing I did write in my original notes is that Luigi's Mansion 3 could have a single mansion like the first game did, but separated into different sections with more variety, like Dark Moon, because Dark Moon had more varied environments, but it was a little less focused because of the mission structure, which some people really don't like. They really don't. They don't like it at all. and I think that's okay. But I do think that they should preserve the sheer variety of Dark Moon, because the environments in it, where some of them were really cool and unique and interesting, whereas the original one, it's just in the same mansion, and I mean, it's a shorter game, granted, but it's nice to have these cool and different ways to have a spooky castle mansion thingamajig. So the new game looks like it takes place in a gigantic hotel, and and with different sections to it. So what it looks to me like what they're doing is sort of, again, fusing the two games conceptually, and that it's one single mansion that you're exploring. However, it's sectioned off into different areas that you can explore. I think that looks like what it is, just based on that, on the trailer, which I think is good. I think it's good to appeal to fans of the original game, and then fans of the sequel, which is me. I prefer the sequel, personally speaking. But yeah, it's great to see that they have fans of both games in mind while creating this game, and I think that's great, because I think the original game has a lot of things that could be drawn on that perhaps Dark Moon was missing a bit. So, good stuff, good job. Now we're going on back to the little more obscure things. All right, we need a Box Boy Switch. I need Box Boy Switch. We all need Box Boy Switch. Okay, the Box Boy trilogy on 3DS is masterful. A sequel for Nintendo Switch could be pretty awesome, and it could expand on some of the mechanics. I think some of the flaws that the sequels have is that they didn't quite push the envelope enough from the first game. Although Bye Bye Box Boy was a step in the right direction, I think there's even more possibilities that they could come up with for ways you can interact with the environment using boxes. And also it would give them the opportunity to release the Box Boy Amiibo internationally, because this fella did not get an international release. Only Japan paid like far too much money for this creature, but it was worth it because he's awesome. Anyway, they could release it internationally with the Switch version. It could serve as sort of a more low-budget, low-key release that Nintendo had a lot on the 3DS and Wii U, but have had less of on the Switch. We've only really had snipper clips and a few other minor things, but I think it's cool to have these sort of smaller Nintendo-developed games released on the eShop. I think that's pretty special, and I'd really like to see that return. And Box Boy Switch is a really good candidate, and the brand is really strong. I think he's very recognizable as a character, so I think bringing him back as a fixture to the HAL lineup, the HAL Laboratory lineup, would be very nice. Also, they could have perhaps co-op. You could play as QC and QB, perhaps something like that. Because we've had success with puzzle co-op games, snipper clips, etc. All that stuff. Co-op Switch goes together like peanut butter and cream cheese. That was a really lame joke. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on the Nintendo Switch. Oh right, I made a video about this. Wow, that's crazy. What do you know? I actually made a full video about this concept of having a Nintendo Switch sequel to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and I think you could watch it if you wanted my thoughts on that, because I already talked about it to a lengthy degree. So just check that out if you feel so willing. I don't know. You could do that, or you could not. Or just continue watching. Alright, next thing. Oh, would you look at that? It's Kid Icarus Uprising 2. A video game that really needs to exist. It's one of the best 3DS games ever made. It's really beautiful and amazing in every way. That's including the controls. I will have you know that the controls in Kid Icarus Uprising are not nearly as bad as people make them out to be. They're actually quite intuitive after you get used to them, which to me only took after 2 chapters, and I was like, hey, this is pretty... I got this. I mean, if you're playing for 5 hours at a time, I guess, but I don't really play my 3DS for 5 hours at a time, so not an issue I encountered. But hey, you know what? I think it works. I think it's unique. I think it's interesting. I think it complements the game well. Anyway, moving on, because the next game obviously can't have that same control setup because the Nintendo Switch doesn't have a stylus. All right, let's go on. This game deserves a sequel a lot, more than anything else that exists. The unfortunate factor is that the director / rebooter, of course, Masahiro Sakurai, is very busy currently working on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and presumably he's going to be kept busy by DLC down the line, and I don't foresee him working on Kid Icarus in the foreseeable future. I definitely wouldn't mind another studio working on it. I do feel as though the series is really closely associated with Sakurai, as he did bring Pit back for Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and then made a whole game for him basically. So I think the series is pretty tied with Sakurai, so perhaps that would be a factor in not wanting to return to it just because it's so tied to this one person. But hey, again, what do I know? Honestly, like, not too much thoughts on what a sequel could complain. Basically, just Kid Icarus Uprising, but, you know, with more content and with new content, because it didn't really need more content. But with new content, you know, we get some epic HD visuals, look great on the 3DS, obviously would look great on the Nintendo Switch creature. Get a new story, and pretty much that. That's pretty much all I need. The Switch port of the original would also be, you know, great, though that does seem unlikely just because it's so tied to the control scheme on the 3DS that I don't know if porting it is all that viable. But, you know, I mean, obviously you could, but I don't know if Nintendo would want to put in the effort to reinvent the controls for a Switch release. There's lots of possibilities for the series continuation. One idea I had that I do kind of like is that you have the story mode of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is, you know, possibly called Spirits Mode. We don't know if it's a story mode. I'm assuming it's a story mode just because I'm setting myself up for disappointment. You could have the Spirits Mode serve as a sort of pseudo-sequel / continuation of Uprising's story. And this would work really well since Uprising is already so meta and references a bunch of other Nintendo franchises within it, just because it feels like it. So definitely that series would feel right at home in sort of a crossover environment. It would be like, you know, it just makes sense. And this would work really well because obviously Sakurai has expressed concern over having cutscenes in like Super Smash Bros. Before because he worries that people just watch them online and then not experience them how they were intended to be experienced. But if you have the dialogue occurring concurrent to the gameplay, like it does in Kid Icarus Uprising, perhaps that would be a workaround. And also that would, you know, open up the opportunity to have the different voice actors for the different characters like Fire Emblem, Star Fox, Xenoblade, all those characters. They can talk to each other, and maybe we can have Mario going in saying Wahoo, and Kirby will say Yahi, and you know, stuff like that. It'd be really fun and interesting to see those characters talking to each other, and you can have the gameplay occurring simultaneously. So that would also cut down on the production cost of animating these really extensive cutscenes like Brawl had. You could have less of those and more focus on just the voice acting, which obviously worked really well in Uprising. You could have Hades as the villain of the story, and you know, he's sort of, you know, attacking. He's being a bad dude, and you gotta fight him. But then what they could do is they could do the same twist as Kid Icarus Uprising, where halfway through the game you defeat Hades, the credits roll, and then it's like someone else. It's like a Super Smash Brothers original character, so that Hades isn't like the main villain, but you got a Super Smash Brothers villain. Maybe it's a returning one like Taboo or the Master Core or something like that. Maybe a new one. I don't know. Could be really cool. Just a fun little idea. I don't actually think it's that likely, but I would appreciate it. I think that'd be a good alternative to the Brawl structure. A new thing, a fun thing. It's a good thing. Our final item on this glorious day is Adventures of Lololo sequel. This series has been dead for far too long. A surprise revival would be very awesome and unexpected. It could be a eShop game or a smaller budget retail title akin to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker or Sushi Striker, something in the $40 to $50 range. It would be very interesting to see HAL do a new entry in the series just because it's been like 20, 30 years since the last game. And now that they're branching out from doing exclusively Kirby games like they were for a while, because they have obviously Box Boy, they have Part-Time UFO, it seems more possible than ever before. Could feature co-op, you know, Switch co-op, again, go together, play Lolo La La La. I was also thinking perhaps it could even be a mobile game. I wouldn't prefer this, but I think, you know, it is a game that would work well on mobile, so if that happened, I wouldn't be particularly upset. In fact, I'd be pleased with it. Obviously, Switch is better, but, you know, mobile would work. Also, recently came out that Adventures of Lolo, I believe, is going to be added to the Nintendo Switch subscription service. So the Adventures of Lolo brand is going to be stronger than ever coming up. So people will have in their minds, when is the new Adventures of Lolo game coming out? And they will say, oh, maybe they should make one. Maybe Nintendo themselves will see that they should make this game. And everyone will say, let's make this game. And then they make the game. And everyone is pleased. Everyone is happy. And we all have a more full and complete life as a result of it. I do believe that I've concluded this video segment. Again, just some stray ideas I had and felt a need to talk to, a dire need. And now I have. It was glorious. I believe I came up with some fun little ideas, and I think that was a fun thing to do, and it was very, very intriguing experience to think about what the future could hold for these wonderful little franchises that are now neglected. And that's a real shame. But that is my exhaustive thoughts on some Nintendo sequels. that would be pretty cool to have. I think that's about the sum of it. Pretty fun time.